Hello class! Today I'm going to introduce your final project for you, which is a mythology-based project where you will be choosing a myth, a classical myth, Greek or Roman, and writing this myth in Latin to share with the class. So what are you going to do in this project? Step 1 is to research a Roman myth, or as I said, a classical myth. It can be a Greek myth as well. And then you will write that story in Latin in simple sentences based on what we've been learning this year. And then finally, you will present that story to the class. So this presentation must involve oral reading of your story. So you're going to read your sentences to the class. You can pre-record this as part of a video, or you can do this as a live Blackboard Collaborate presentation to the class. I'll get more into that later. So your first step in this project is to choose the myth that you would like to research. And there are suggestions in the wiki page. If you want to choose something that's not in this suggestion list, you absolutely must email me. I'd prefer everyone to choose a myth from this page. I think I've given you a good selection to choose from. You will then read the myth and read about the gods and the characters in the myth. In part 2 of your project, you'll fill in a research quiz, a research chart about the myth and the characters to sort of give a plot outline of your myth before you start writing in Latin. Once you've outlined your myth in English, you're ready to start writing in Latin. You should aim to use mostly words that you know when you're writing in Latin. This may mean that you have to write your sentences in kind of a roundabout way in order to try and use verbs that you know, but this should really be your goal. Use simple sentences. Try for a variety of different sentences. As you go through the lessons associated with this project, you'll see these different kinds of sentences that you can use, and I've given you several examples to go by. You'll try for sentences that contain a nominative, an accusative, and a verb, and then a nominative, a preposition with the ablative, and a verb. And then you may want to get into more complicated sentences using adjectives, adverbs, or conjunctions like and or because, et, and quod. This variety of sentences will really help add creativity to your work and be a nice add-on to your writing. You may absolutely use a dictionary for help. There will be words that you'll need for your myth that you may not know already, especially given how specific some of the myths are. If you choose to do the myth of Atalanta and the golden apples, you will need the word for apples and the word for gold. So you can use a dictionary for this. I've given you a couple of links to potential dictionaries. You may also use Google Translate for individual words. In this way, Google Translate is pretty helpful in helping you to find the words that you'll need, but you should not, absolutely not, use Google Translate for full sentences or full chunks of your story. I'll warn you that this doesn't work anyway. Google Translate is notoriously terrible at translating Latin, so if you stick in an English sentence and then ask it to put it in Latin, you're going to get the wrong answer anyway. So please use Google Translate as a dictionary rather than a translation service. If I receive your myth and it doesn't make any sense and it appears to have been run through Google Translate, I will not accept that as your final project and you will receive a grade of 0. Your final myth should be between 15 and 20 sentences in Latin. So this is not super long. Try to keep your myth concise and pare it down to the most important things so that you can keep it between 15 and 20 sentences. A little over is fine, no less than 15 sentences. The presentation must have a visual component. So that means images like slides or a video that you've created. And it must include you reading your story out loud. So this is your pronunciation, expression, enthusiasm mark. This is what I'm looking for in your presentation. Are you telling the story? Does your voice show that you understand what the story means in Latin? So this needs to be you reading your story. Whether you choose to pre-record that as a video or do that live on Blackboard Collaborate, it is completely your choice. So if you decide to do a video for your presentation, then you can upload this video to YouTube or otherwise hand it in online as a MP4 video file. That's fine as well. You've got several options for your visual part of this. You could choose to use an online cartoon program like Powtoon or Toondoo that we've used in class, and then record your voice on top of that. You might choose to do stop motion or live action recording with Lego, dolls, other figures. I've had students in the past create a video using their pets as the actors for the different characters, but that's an option as well. You could also pre-record a slideshow with a voiceover if you're nervous to perform in person and you've created some visual slides. You can even hand draw your pictures and then take photos of them and turn those into slides. If you choose to do a Collaborate presentation, then the presentation will be on May the 16th at 7 p.m. on Blackboard Collaborate. We'll all be meeting that day anyway. That is our usual Blackboard session for May. You should create your slides and visuals in any of the ways I suggested for the video and send those slides to me by May the 15th, the day before our meeting, so that I can upload them to Collaborate ahead of time and we'll be all ready to go. Please note that videos will not play in Blackboard Collaborate, so any files that you send me must be either a PDF or a PowerPoint file. Other files will not upload to Collaborate, so those are your choices if you choose to do a Collaborate presentation. And then on the 16th at 7 when we all meet, I'll put up your slides and you'll be able to do your oral reading live to the class. So, just to repeat, do not use Google Translate. It doesn't work well anyway, so I do not want to see you using Google Translate on your sentences or your story. And then the second thing is, please do not use clip art or pictures from the internet to create your slides. I want this to be your creative presentation, so stealing images off of the internet is really not going to fly here. You're going to need to use either a cartoon creation software like Powtoon or Toondoo or something like that where you're creating the picture, or you're going to need to do some other kind of creative where you're taking photos of drawings or posing Lego pieces or things like that. I don't want to see any clip art or images from the internet for this project. It has to be your creation. So here's a timeline of how this project is going to go. This week, I'm asking you to choose your topic and post that in our wiki page for this project. So similarly to how you've done for other projects, your derivative project and such, you can find the list of myths there, read them over, do a little Googling, and decide which topic you'd like, and then just put your name next to that topic. The second thing I'd like you to do this week is the Part 1 writing sentences in the project folder. So this is going to help you start writing in Latin and get some practice on forming those sentences. Next week, April 24th, is when your myth research and outline is due. That's in the Part 2 folder. Part 3 is due on May the 8th. That's a full draft with all of your sentences of your myth. So on May 8th, you'll be submitting to me a written draft of your sentences. I'll try to get that back to you as fast as possible with my suggestions and corrections so that you can edit that draft for your final presentation. On May 8th, I'd also like you to confirm what type of presentation you'll be doing, whether you're going to be uploading a video or you'll be performing live on Collaborate, just so that I can make a schedule for the class. May the 15th, if you've decided to do a Collaborate presentation, you need to get your slides to me by this day, and everyone will be handing in their final written myths on May the 15th. So that's when your final Word doc myth comes into me. Not the presentation part, but the written doc so that I can look at your sentences. And then final project is on May the 16th. So we'll be meeting at 7 p.m. for our Blackboard Collaborate, or if you're posting your video, you need to make sure it's posted on May the 16th to the wiki page for anyone in the class who'd like to see it, and especially for me who'd like to see it. Here is the breakdown of the rubric for this project. You can also find this chart and a Word doc of this chart in the instructions page for this, so please review this at your leisure. You may notice that there's a lot of focus on using cases and verbs correctly, using good vocabulary, so really be focused on that as you're writing. And finally, step 1, get started on your project, choose your myth story. That's the first thing that I'd like you to start with today. So go to the wiki page and have a look at the myths that are available. think about what you'd like to do for your presentation, and put your name down. Email me with questions. Thank you.